We begin with a peaceful, warm neighborhood scene in Leo's favorite spot, an empty playground at sunset. Children's laughter echoes as Leo, alone after his friends have left, begins playing with his phone, capturing the vivid colors of the sky. However, the camera subtly shifts to a nearby alley where a shadowed figure exchanges envelopes with another man.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rand, right?
As Leo's curiosity gets the better of him, he approaches to see more clearly, accidentally stumbling upon Mr. Rand, the local politician, deep in a clandestine exchange. The politician turns, catching Leo's eye, and they lock gazes. Rand's cold, calculating expression shifts to one of anger and panic, knowing that his career could be jeopardized by a simple child's video.
Do you know who I am?
Yes, sir. Mr. Rand, right?
Good. Keep that phone down, son. We wouldn't want anyone misinterpreting things, would we?
Leo stammers out an agreement but rushes off with the footage on his phone. Rand watches him go, his mind already calculating how to silence this potential threat. Later that night, Leo walks home, glancing nervously over his shoulder, the streets eerily empty. The camera follows his every move, emphasizing his vulnerability in the empty, dimly lit alleys. Suddenly, headlights blaze around a corner, revealing a car inching closer, matching Leo's pace as he speeds up.
I didn't do anything wrong. Please.
Leo begins to run, dialing his mother's number, but before he can speak, the phone is snatched from his hand by a figure who steps out from the shadows. Another man grabs him, and together they shove him into the car. Inside, Leo's voice is muffled, terrified pleas for mercy. The last thing we see is his small, desperate hand pressed against the car window as it speeds away, disappearing into the darkness. We transition to Leo's gravesite, where fog has gathered heavily over the ground, swirling and pulsing as if alive. The camera captures the first ghostly flicker of Leo's form, faint and childlike, just as his voice pierces the silence.
They stole everything from me, but I'll make them remember. I'll make him remember.
At first, Leo is disoriented, still connected to his physical pain and loss. But as his memories resurface, anger begins to boil. His translucent hands tighten into fists, and a cold mist seeps from his fingertips, spreading across the foggy landscape. His innocence has been replaced with an unrelenting hunger for justice. Inside Mr. Rand's luxurious mansion, opulent rooms stretch in eerie silence. The decor is modern but carries a certain coldness, each piece of art and furniture arranged with sterile precision. Rand, confident in his deceit, seems untouched by guilt, until the temperature drops and strange phenomena begin.
This isn't real.
You took my life. Now I'm taking yours.
As Rand moves from room to room, Leo's presence becomes undeniable. Mirrors shatter, showing Leo's reflection staring back, eyes blazing with accusation. When Rand tries to flee, a heavy gust slams the door shut, trapping him in his own home. Rand is forced to confront Leo's ghost, who appears in the corner of each room, his anger palpable. Rand can barely breathe, his sins manifesting before him as his memories flood with images of Leo's desperate face. Rand, panicked, retreats to his study, the only place he feels safe. But as he shuts the door, a cold draft fills the room, extinguishing the candles, and Leo's voice fills the air, his words echoing from all directions.
Remember me.
The sound builds to a crescendo. A combination of Leo's chilling laughter, whispers, and the violent shattering of glass. A thunderous heartbeat blends with Rand's gasps, drowning out all other sounds. Finally, there's silence, pierced only by Leo's last words.
This is only the beginning.
Rand, cornered and terrified, collapses to his knees, tears streaming down his face as Leo's ghostly hand reaches for his shoulder. The camera zooms in on Rand's face, his eyes filled with horror as the screen fades to black, leaving viewers on edge. Visual and sound design recap for Episode 1. The visual atmosphere is crafted with fog and shadows, used heavily around Leo's grave and Rand's mansion, creating an aura of dread. Distorted reflections where mirrors crack and shatter when Leo appears symbolize the breaking of Rand's illusions. Leo's spirit carries an ethereal blue glow, contrasting the dark, cold atmosphere around him. The sound atmosphere is equally immersive. Heartbeats and breathing, Leo's heartbeat and Rand's labored breathing, intensify the suspense. Children's laughter, distorted and haunting, creates a sense of innocence twisted by tragedy. An ambient music box melody softly plays in the background, evoking both innocence and the eerie passage of time. Episode 2, Heart of Betrayal. In this episode, Emily, a betrayed lover, returns from beyond to seek vengeance on her cheating partner, James. Consumed by grief and anger, she haunts him with relentless visions of their past love and his infidelities, forcing him to confront the pain he caused. James's apartment at night, stylish but sterile, with a window overlooking the city. The camera pans to a photo of Emily on the mantel, her smile faded and fragile, contrasting with the dark, cold tones of the apartment. A low, unsettling hum underscores the scene, broken only by the faint sound of raindrops tapping against the window, adding a sense of looming sorrow. A subtle heartbeat pulse grows louder as the camera focuses on Emily's photo, then abruptly stops. He was my world, and he destroyed it.
I thought you loved me, James. How could you?
Maybe you weren't enough.
On a stormy night, Emily confronts James on a rooftop, begging him for answers. As they argue, she slips on the wet surface, and though James reaches out to catch her, he lets go at the last second, his expression cold and indifferent. Her last vision is of his face, emotionless as she falls. Her scream is muted by the thunder, her heartbeat fading to silence as she falls. Rain begins to pour heavily and the camera captures a puddle on the rooftop, rippling as Emily's voice echoes faintly.
You'll regret this.
In the stillness of the night, Emily emerges from the mist, her form drenched in spectral rain. Her expression, a twisted blend of sorrow and fury, flickers with an eerie light. Her eyes, dark with anger, fixate on James, who sleeps peacefully, unaware of the haunting that is about to unfold.
You took everything from me, James. Now I'll take everything from you.
Emily's desire for vengeance grows as she watches him, her once loving soul, now hardened by betrayal. The air fills with ethereal whispers of James, and the haunting melody of a warped music box captures her broken heart. James's apartment is shrouded in darkness, save for the faint glow of city lights. Shadows twist into ghostly images of Emily in every reflection, her face contorted with sorrow and anger. James begins to see her everywhere, in his mirrors, windows, and even his phone screen.
Sinister laughter.
Emily's laughter, once joyful, now echoes sinisterly throughout the apartment. Doors creak open on their own, and the faint sound of their old love song distorts and slows, a haunting reminder of their past.
Muttering to himself, "This can't be real. I must be imagining things."
James becomes increasingly paranoid, trying to ignore the eerie events. He thinks he hears her voice in his sleep, waking to see her face in the mirror beside his own. He's unable to escape the guilt that her presence forces upon him. As days pass, Emily's haunting grows more intense, breaking his resolve.
I'll be with you forever.
The episode closes as James looks in the mirror, seeing Emily's face directly behind him, her hand reaching toward him. His terrified scream echoes as the screen fades to black. Carl, a young man wrongfully executed for a crime he didn't commit, rises as a spirit, bound by chains of injustice. He seeks revenge on the corrupt officials responsible for his death, turning the prison into a nightmare for those who betrayed him. The haunting begins with an air of retribution as Carl's presence brings fear and chaos to the halls of the prison. A desolate prison, shadowed and empty. Carl's cell remains untouched, dark and foreboding, filled with the sorrow of his wrongful conviction. Fog rolls across the concrete floor, winding toward the cell as the faint echo of his last plea fills the air. A slow, rhythmic chain clinking creates a grim heartbeat for the scene. Distant screams and shouts echo from within the prison walls, amplifying the sense of dread. They locked me away for their lies. Now I'll make them live with their guilt. Flashbacks show Carl pleading his innocence in the courtroom, his desperation ignored by the judge and jury. His loved ones sob in the gallery, while the prosecutor, smug and unbothered, smirks with a glint of personal satisfaction. The gavel's strike echoes in slow motion, each impact resonating louder as Carl's pleas fall silent. The echo of prison doors slamming shut fades into a chilling silence.
I didn't do it.
In a cold grey execution room, Carl's face is pale, his hands clenched as he whispers a prayer. His final words ring out, "I didn't do it." As the switch is pulled, the lights flicker and the room goes dark. The hum of electricity cuts out, replaced by an unnatural silence. Carl's heartbeat slows, then stops, as an ominous wind fills the room. His spirit, tormented by injustice, rises from the execution chair, bound in ethereal chains. As he walks, shadows stretch and bend around him, filling the prison with cold dread.
I didn't do it.
The prison's walls shift and change, reflecting Carl's anger. Doors slam shut on their own, locks click without keys, and the faint glow of his spirit is seen dragging chains through the halls. Each step is accompanied by the dragging of heavy chains. Guards and officials hear whispers of Carl's final plea, "I didn't do it," echoing through the corridors, chilling them to the bone.
I didn't do it.
Carl targets the warden and prosecutor, forcing them to relive every moment of his trial, making them feel the despair he felt. The walls of their offices begin to close in, trapping them with visions of Carl's final moments.
Justice comes for all.
The warden collapses, his sanity slipping, as Carl's voice whispers one last time. The episode ends with the warden looking up, seeing Carl's ghostly face before him. Episode 4, Blood Sister. Maria, a young woman seeking revenge for her murdered sister, Sophia, rises to curse her sister's killers. With sorrow as her guide, Maria's spirit unleashes a vengeful curse, marking each killer with a dark, supernatural scar. Sophia's gravesite. Overgrown and surrounded by thorny bushes, Maria's spirit rises from her sister's grave, clutching a blood-stained necklace, her expression a mask of sorrow and rage. The sound of a heart monitor beeping flatlines as Maria's spirit awakens. The sound of whispered names, her sister's killers, echoes in the wind. "You took her from me, now I'll take you." In the final episode of the series, Max, a construction worker killed in a cover-up accident, returns to haunt those who concealed the truth. Max's spirit forces his former co-workers to relive the deadly accident and confront their lies, revealing the hidden corruption behind his untimely death. A dimly lit construction site, silent and still. Shadows play across unfinished steel beams, their angular shapes evoking a twisted prison. The faint outline of a figure appears at the top of a scaffolding. Max, now a ghost, standing at the very spot where he fell to his death. The clanking of loose chains and faint whir of construction machinery echo hauntingly in the silence. A single, piercing whistle breaks the quiet, the same sound Max heard just before his fatal accident. This whistle repeats, an ominous reminder of that fateful day. They thought they could bury the truth with me, but I'm not done yet. Flashback visuals. Max is shown in a chaotic scene at the construction site, directing a crew when he notices something wrong with the safety gear. He runs to the scaffolding, shouting for everyone to get clear. Suddenly the support structure buckles. The camera captures his horrified expression as he falls, the world around him spiraling until the screen fades to black. The rumbling of collapsing metal and Max's terrified shout echo and distort, melding with the faint sounds of sirens and frantic voices. His last gasping breath lingers as the scene fades.
No, this isn't right. They ignored my warnings, left me to die. Now, they'll have to face what they did.
As Carl's ghostly form rises from the rubble, his body is transparent but visibly bruised and broken from the accident. His expression, a mix of anguish and determination, reveals the turmoil within. The wind carries the echoes of his co-workers' laughter and voices, mingling with the safety warnings he tried to shout that fateful day. The spectral clinking of tools and eerie metallic groans punctuate the air, creating a distorted soundscape. Memories of the accident, those ignored warnings, and the cut corners fuel his anger. Carl's face contorts, his form darkening as his spirit solidifies with a singular purpose: to force those responsible to acknowledge the truth. In a dimly lit office, Max's former supervisors gather, celebrating the success of their project, completely unaware of the ghostly form lurking just out of view.
You knew it wasn't safe, and you did nothing.
Max's presence grows, casting unnatural shadows across the room, making the lights flicker. The walls of the office transform into flickering, distorted images of the construction site, the scaffolding swaying ominously. Every glance in a reflective surface shows Max's bruised face, silently accusing them. Ghostly clinking of chains fills the room, punctuated by the sound of collapsing metal. As each supervisor hears his name whispered by Max's voice, the sound grows louder, building to an oppressive level that makes them clutch their ears. One by one, Max confronts each supervisor. The room warps into a distorted vision of the construction site, immersing each man in a nightmarish replay of the accident. The air grows cold, and as they try to leave, doors slam shut and furniture shifts to block their way. Max forces his former co-workers to experience the accident from his perspective, seeing through his eyes as the structure fails. They feel his terror and desperation, watching in horror as they ignore his warnings in this spectral replay. The illusions end with each supervisor shivering, breathless, as they realize the truth they've buried. The echoing whistle returns, louder this time, as each co-worker is forced to confront Max's final moments. The soundscape layers collapsing metal and the distorted sound of muffled sirens, making them feel trapped in Max's dying experience. The remaining men plead for forgiveness, desperate and guilt-ridden as Max's haunting brings them to their knees. Finally, Max's ghostly figure stands above them, his rage softened but not extinguished, his face a haunting reminder of the justice they denied him.
Remember me, and remember what you did.
Weeks later, the construction site remains abandoned, marked as unsafe due to unexplainable accidents. Max's presence lingers, his spirit finally finding peace as the truth is brought to light. Workers claim to hear his voice in the wind, warning them to stay safe, and a faint whistle echoes at the start of each shift. The soft whistle returns, echoing with a haunting calm. As the camera fades to black, Max's voice whispers one last time.
No more lies.
The Vengeance from Beyond series ends with each spirit achieving justice in their own way, highlighting themes of truth, betrayal, and supernatural retribution. Each episode leaves viewers with a lingering sense of moral complexity, questioning the lengths the wronged souls went to for revenge and the cost of unresolved guilt. Episode 1, Echoes of Innocence. A young boy, Leo, haunts a corrupt politician responsible for his death. Episode 2, Heart of Betrayal. Emily, a scorned lover, haunts her unfaithful partner, James. Episode 3, Prisoner of Justice. Carl, an innocent man, returns to terrorize those who executed him unjustly. Episode 4, Blood Sister. Maria curses those responsible for her sister Sophia's death. Episode 5, Witness to Darkness. Max, a worker killed in an accident, reveals the cover-up by haunting his corrupt supervisors. Each story weaves suspenseful atmospheric horror with strong emotional arcs, ensuring viewers are both captivated and haunted by the relentless pursuit of justice from beyond the grave. The series finale closes the circle as the restless spirits find peace, but not without leaving an indelible mark on the living world.